Hi, this is Dan from TradeUnity. This video was created to review the new gold settings which will be recommended from now on. I will explain and show how the new settings are applied in order to give you higher wins than what we had before. First of all, after observing the robot in more than 3 months of trading, we realized that even if our settings are capable to give us profits like they did in the first months, they don't seem to match the power of the robot which is shown in the simulation. So, we analyzed why this happened, and we realized that the local volatility of the small time frames is too high, and yet that activates the trailing stops too fast in good movements, making very small profits. We had settings that are predicted to make 75 to 88% wins over a period of 10 years, but where the wins are so small, the results were also not very good. So we needed to change the model. In order to do this, we tested three types of settings. Two on the old model, with many wins of small profits, and we call these the initial settings and the new settings, or V1 and V2. And soon we've tested another account on another account, four sets of settings, which looked interesting based on what we observed from the real trading. So we selected the best settings that we got out of these four, and that's what we're going to show now. I'm going to show you a bit the real results we had and the simulations. We're gonna compare the V1, V2, V3 in real trading for the from 6th of September until 10th or 11th of October, and we're going to see the simulations on 10 years from 10th of October 2008 to 10th of October 2018 and see what conclusion we can draw. First, we'll see how the initial settings performed. There was a period of drawdown, and the goal settings have registered with the new settings, with the initial settings, 4.38% drawdown. So we can see here the win rate was 41% in this time, and we had an average win of 43 cents with an average loss of 84 cents. We are doing here minimum trades of 0.01 lots, but the results are in percentages, so that's what's important. Okay, next, the new improved settings have indeed performed better with almost 0.5% better actually. So in long term this actually means quite a lot, but also these perform drawdown. Probably the model just takes drawdown now, but here we had 70% wins, and the average win was $26, while the average loss was $1.60, which is actually a totally different result from what we had before. And as you can see, the result is better. But on the other hand, the other system, which is on a completely different model, has managed not to have any drawdown and in plus to obtain a huge amount of profit in the same time. Here we had around 54% wins, which an average win of $3.744 and an average loss of 2.83. So finally we have managed to achieve a higher average win than the average loss. Now let's look at the simulations and understand why this has happened. For the simulations, I have extracted just the report from them. You can see here the V1. The V1 settings in simulations from 10th of October 2008 till 10th of October 2018 have given us a very good result from an initial deposit of 200 to 3,287,000 total net profit. This looks very unbelievable, but this is what we work with, and based on the simulation, if the real data would confirm the same pattern, we would have this result. Anyway, what we need to look here is the average profit here is higher than the average loss. Well, this didn't really confirm in our trade, but we can see that here at the end we also have a little drawdown. Anyway, this model looks very good in simulations, but we could not replicate it so well in real trading, and we figured out that simulations of the 1 minute charts are not very accurate as they are supposed to be. So even if charts are the model quality is high, it's still not perfectly accurate. Based on the first settings, we tried to improve them in the second variant, and we did find some settings that were a bit more interesting, in the sense that here we had a win rate of 64%, and on the new ones we achieved an 88% overall win rate. At the same time, the average profit was a lot smaller than the average loss, but this was compensated through the high number of wins, also we thought. Once we started understanding that the volatility on the small time frames is very high, we started looking for a different pattern. And then we found the settings number 3, V3. These settings are quite different, and they are more close to swing trading than with scalping. We have an average profit rate of 52%, so 52% of the time we win. We don't have any break-even trades here like we did in the previous simulations. So here we also have a much larger average profit than the average loss. In total, the total net profit is comparable with the first settings, but what we have noticed is that the real trading results here match the simulations. When we ran the simulation over the real trading results, we could find the same trades, and that gave us more confidence in this model, which we will apply from now on as the recommended one. We made a new settings with high steps that allow the market to, let's say, dance up and down with 300 pips before being stopped. We also increased the original stop loss, which means now we will get higher wins, more or less the same losses inside, but more of these losses in number. The stop loss is now 250 pips, which means that traders with capital smaller than $250 will risk $2.5 per trade at 0.01 lots, which is higher than the 1% which was what we were recommending usually. Looking at the simulations, you will also see that there are risks involved. The drawdown is 32%. That's the relative drawdown, and it's a maximum of 32% when the trades are made with 2% risk. So you have to understand that if you are going to trade these settings for a capital of $200, there is a chance that at some point you will get to a drawdown that will be $64 in loss. It can be right away if you start in the wrong time, and from that normally it should recover, but the simulations are made on the past and there's no guarantee that there won't be a bigger drawdown, but that's a quite small chance that will happen. Anyway, continuing, if you have a capital of $1,000, you can have $320 lost in drawdown, which you will need to wait until they get recovered. So you must understand, if you are going to put $1,000 to use these settings on them, that there is this chance of the drawdown. And if you have $10,000, then of course you can have a drawdown of $3,200. And if you can stomach this, if you have the ability of passing through these periods of drawdown and just let the robot run, you should be alright, because as it shows, it always recovers. If you think this is too much to risk, whatever your capital is, then we will recommend you to reduce your capital as a whole, or reduce the risk you attribute to this pair. Remember also that the simulations show that you can have possibly consecutive losses number of 9, but the average is 2. So most of the time you will have around 2 losses in a row, 1, 2, 3, something like that. And in particular cases you might have 9. So that would be a loss of 9% if you trade 1% per capital, or 18% if you trade 2% of your capital. But on the other side, you also have possible consecutive wins, which are of number of 10 in the simulations, with an average of 2. And also the average win is bigger than the average loss. So overall, it should be okay. Just wanted to make this clear because we observed that in the past, when we had our first period of drawdown, people have started really asking a lot of questions and being unsure of what to do. Just wanted to let you know that this is absolutely normal. All systems have drawdown. The important thing is that the money management is applied correctly and that the drawdown can always be recovered by the strategy of the system. Okay, now I will finally show you the settings. You can use the settings on fixed lots, where you define your lot size if you want to risk always the same size of the lot, or you can set it as risk percentage, where we recommend no more than 1 or 2% in total trades of this pair. The stop loss should be set at 250 pips. The profit target should be anywhere between 600 and 2000, and I will explain why I gave a range. The trailing stop should be set to true. The trailing stop start should be anything smaller than 150. When we put it by default 75, any number works here as long as smaller than 150. The step should be 300 and the distance should be 150. We will of course give you the set settings, but until then I wanted to explain why do we do this. I put the settings here because I am going to show you a new model of trading with these settings. It has come to my attention from one of our users on the community, and thank you for that we can set several targets of the trade. So in order to do that, we have to use multiple charts. And to use multiple charts, we will divide the risk between those charts. So that, you remember, if we get a full stop loss, all three charts will get the full stop loss. So that means if you plan to trade 1%, each chart should have 0.33% risk. Or if you want to balance it somehow else, you can do that. Anyway, you can put several profit targets up until the last one. And why would you do that? Because the steps are quite high, the steps of the trailing stop. So it can happen that the first step is achieved and the second step is very high up, let's say 450 pips up, which is actually the case. And in between that, maybe you want to fix some profit in between. So because the trailing stop is not very advanced at this moment, we suggest to put simply 2 charts or 3 charts and think where else in the process you want to fix some profit, and just adjust your target on that chart accordingly. So for example, you can have target 1 at 400 pips, you can have target 2 at 600 pips, and target 3 at 2000 pips, or whatever you want. This is up to you, and you can tune it as you wish, as it's easier for your trading style. And to make it even easier for you, I will explain that you always have a minimum trade of 0.01 lots. And when you have a stop loss of 250 pips, then your minimum trade risk is $2.5. So, in case you want to use multiple charts, I will explain what kind of capital you have to have as a minimum in order to be able to set these trades at 0.01 lots. So if you want to risk no more than 0.5% of your capital in total, then if you have only one chart, you will need to have a capital of $500 and your risk on that chart will be 0.5%. If you have 2 charts, then you'll have to have $1,000 as a minimal capital, and the risk per chart would be 0.25%. And in total, of course, you'll have 0.5%. And the same goes for 3 charts. Then each trade of 0.01% lots will represent 0.16% of your total capital, so that in total you will have 0.5%. And then minimal capital for that, it is $1,500. Going higher with the risk, the capital decreases. So at 1%, if you want one chart, you will have all the 1% on that chart. Your minimum capital is $250. At 2 charts, you have $500 minimum capital and 0.5% per chart. At 3 charts, you have $750 your minimum capital and 0.33% per chart. And if you want to risk 2%, then you can do that even with $125 as your minimum deposit, if the broker allows it. Then your chart will have 2%. For 2 charts, you need to have $250 and split the 1% for each chart. And for 3 charts, you need $375, and the 0.01 lots will represent 0.66% of your capital. Okay. For higher capitals, you can actually have different risks per chart, depending on your trading style and what you think is better. and you can change them as much as you want. Okay, that's it for now. You can find these new settings on the settings page, which was redesigned, and I will give you a new video which will be about how a trade works. I have actually recorded one of our trades, one of our winning trades, and you will see how this new model works there on two charts. I hope you like this video, and I hope you will have great results with the new settings. Good luck!